We're going to talk about 2 quick ways to make a bad impression at a conference. I'm Mark Parsons. This is Wendelin Van Draanen. You're watching Coffee with the Authors, where we discuss the craft and business of writing.
Okay, so the number one way to make a bad impression at a con is to have diva or divo behavior. It is not uncommon, and it's very kind of off-putting. Being too good for, too busy to participate in the group activities, like not participating in the walk-on. Well, we had a really early call, and all the authors were supposed to show up. If you didn't go to that walk-on, you totally missed out.
You missed out big
time. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And but if you felt like, oh, it's just too early and it's optional, because it was optional, you have this kind of attitude and behaviors, and you don't become part of like the collective energy of an event.
You want to be a team player for sure. One of the things you want to recognize is that it takes a ton of work to put this on.
Yeah.
So it's like always be polite to the staff, be nice to the staff, thank them, and thank them during. And then after you get home from a successful con, thank your representative. We had a couple, 3 people that we interfaced with for months leading up to this to coordinate everything. And then during the actual event, there she was right there in the green room. So we thanked her and her staff profusely because they did an amazing job.
Yeah, and things go wrong. They obviously, when you're trying to deal with all these things are going to go wrong. And you just have to have the grace to understand that these people have been working on this for like a year to prepare for it. And if something goes wrong, if your tech doesn't work, if it's like you're double booked in a room, you just have to kind of go with the flow. Don't have attitude, because that's just not cool.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help the situation.
And it's not cool. The second way to quickly make a bad impression has to do with timing. So,
my God.
So you have an allotted slot for you to give a presentation, or they may say that you have a 20-minute keynote or whatever it is. You have an allotted slot, and the thing is, arrive on time, finish on time. The way that I have been guilty of not doing that in the past. I've been guilty of, outrunning my time. And so what I've learned is that I set my phone, I put a timer on my phone. Like if I'm supposed to be done at 11:30 with my little talk, I'm going to set an alarm at 11:30. And when that thing goes off, hopefully I'll have reached the end of what I want to say right before then. But if it goes off, I'm going to shut it off and I'm going to say, that's the end of my time, wrap up in a sentence and get off the stage.
That's a good way to do it.
There is nothing harder on the presenter that comes after you than to listen to you chatter on and on and on and on while you're chewing up their prep time. So arrive on time and finish on time, and then get off the stage.
One little trick that works for me sometimes is to have kind of a 2-minute drill where I have my whole presentation, but I have the last 3 or 4 minutes or whatever they are. I know what they are and they're set aside. So I keep an eye on the time. And then when I get to, I've got 5 minutes left, I kind of pretty quickly segue out of wherever I am if I'm running long, and I go into my close, because what you don't want to do is be 3/4 of the way through your presentation and just stop it.
Right.
Speaking of people chewing up your time, so we actually did a joint presentation, and we got there, and these things, you start on the hour and you go for 50 minutes, and then you've got 10 minutes to change over. And this guy was in there talking, and we got there. And usually you finish up about 45 after, take a few questions and kind of get out of there and let people get out of the hall and change. There's a big entry hall which holds about 300 or 400 people, and then each room holds about 100 people per room, circling around this entry hall. And we're standing in this entry hall waiting for this guy, and it's 45, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. So he's now into our time, into our setup time. He's just, just yakking away. It didn't even sound particularly exciting. So finally, we're in the hall. There are people who want to see us, and they're gathered around us, maybe 50 people at that point, just kind of standing in a hall around us. So I said, you guys want to just do a Q&A out here? Well, who's got a question? We'll start. And we made a lot of noise and stuff.
We tried to make noise so the guy would get the hint. But
there's a moderator in the room who's holding up the 5-minute sign, but this guy just wasn't having it. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. Maybe it was his first conference, or maybe he just didn't care. He wasn't finished yet. I don't know. He was, anyways, that created a lot of stress for us, because we ended up and we're trying to cram a 2-hour workshop into an hour. So we got it done and it worked out really well. And we kind of made a joke out of it, I think.
Yeah.
And that kind of
And,
helped.
you know, and time is a weird thing when you're on a stage or you're giving a presentation. If someone tells you you've got 3 minutes, you really should practice your 3 minutes before you get on the stage, because you think 3 minutes is one thing, but pretty soon you're at 7. And it's a weird thing. It's like time does this weird thing when you're on a stage. So you really have to get into the habit of preparing for it, sticking to the time, set your timer on your phone is how I finally solved, you know, my issue with the time doing that weird thing when you're on a stage. So I had a similar experience at the educator breakfast where we each got 5 minutes to talk at each table and then got to move along. They have someone that guides you over to the next table. And if the person that's guiding you over, like one of the StoryCon volunteers, if they are firm, they can get you up from your chair and over to the next table where you're supposed to be. But if you have someone who's more gentle, maybe the guy that you are following around these 10 tables is very intent on continuing to talk, and she doesn't really have like the authority in her to make him stop and move, then your time is getting like whittled away. And so if you want to become unpopular at a con, just talk over the time, and when the person who's moving you along tells you it's time to go, stand up and move instead of just finishing that thought for the next 2 minutes.
Did this happen to you?
Clearly, I have baggage. And the last little story I'm going to tell about timing has to do with participating on a panel. So in a previous episode on this, I said that I was going to participate in this panel, and then how valuable it is to find out about the other people who are on the panel, to get to know them a little bit, so you have a conversation that is something besides just about you. So unfortunately, our moderator didn't show up. So there were 3 of us and a moderator, and the 3 of us just started like running the show ourselves. And then 20 minutes into a 50-minute panel discussion, the moderator just blows in. She was all out of breath and frantic, and she sat down. There was a problem, which everybody, you know, you can run into problems, but there was not much of an explanation. It was, anyway. And then she wasn't prepared at all. She didn't know anything about any of us. It appeared, and she just kind of tried to jump in, and we were already like a third of the way into it. So she was late, she was unprepared. And I think that of all the things that I participated in at the conference, that was the one I felt like people left the presentation feeling like they didn't really get much out of it.
So really, it's pretty easy to make a good impression at a conference. Be a team player, be on time. That's kind of it.
So that's it for this week. We hope you got something useful out of it. We'll see you again next time on Coffee with the Authors. Meanwhile, remember, dream big, work hard, don't give up.
Be a team player, drink your coffee. Plus that guy was negative.
He was also the guy, but I'm not going to talk about that.
No, because people can figure out who that was.